Good morning, everyone. Welcome to session 2 of Head Talks, which is Health, Education, and Alzheimer's Disease. My name is Jennifer. I am a volunteer for the Can Dream Foundation. We have begun this meeting, and good to see you all. Thank you all for joining. We will begin our welcome notes and our introductions from Jackie Seth in just a moment. I would like to give some housekeeping information here. We will be using the chat feature, which to locate it, if you are not already familiar, is at the very bottom of this Zoom meeting screen. The little chat bubble is there. If you click on it, you can pop out the window to the right. We will be using this for interactive conversations, as well as posing questions, getting your feedback and your comments. We will have some speakers. Everyone has been muted upon entry. You will stay muted as the speakers present. We will also possibly use, if you're familiar with it, we can use the raise hand feature if you would like to ask the questions. Again, at the bottom of your Zoom meeting screen, you have the people showing, it's participants. You click on that icon beside your name, there is a raise hand. If anyone would like to do a test, click on it, raise your hand so I can at least see that you hear me okay, you see me okay. We've got one from Corinne. Thank you for that. And once you're done with raising your hand, thank you, Jackie. Appreciate it. You can lower it as well. There's an icon. Jocelyn, Jasmine, fantastic. Thank you all so much. Miss Jackie, we're about 1 minute after. Would you like to get started now?
Oh, sure. Thank you very much, Jennifer. I really appreciate it. Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Health, Education, and Alzheimer's Disease Talks. I'm Jackie Seth. I'm the Physical and Mental Health Committee Chair of the Columbia, Maryland Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. That's a mouthful. On behalf of our partners today, Can Dream Foundation, Johns Hopkins Medicine, Howard County Office of Aging and Independence, Live Now Fitness, and our sponsor-owned real estate, we welcome you. We're so excited because we have a great event planned for today. It is a whole bunch of exciting things, but a whole bunch of great information. So just hold on to your seats, and you're going to probably have to get out of those seats. So you want to make sure that you're ready for that. Today, we want to discuss a couple of things with you. First being, we're going to define what is Alzheimer's disease. We're going to talk through ways to reduce your risk. We're going to get a little physical in a good way, so you're going to like it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about caregiver resources. I want to introduce our speakers. We have Corinne Pettigrew, who is with Johns Hopkins Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, Carmen Roberts with the Howard County Office of Aging and Independence, David Girton, who is with Live Now Fitness, and Ernestine Thomas, who is a caregiver specialist at the Howard County Office of Aging and Independence as well. Okay, this is when we get to use all of the things that we just learned from Jennifer. Did you know November was Alzheimer's Awareness Week? Now you can raise your hand, you can put yes in the chat. It's just gonna orient you with all of the things you just learned. This is the test, the first part. Are we seeing some things, Jennifer? Yes, you guys are rocking it out already. First Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Great. Well, it is. November is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. And one interesting fact that we have here on the slide that you get to have all of this information we're going to share today is that Alzheimer's unfortunately impacts women twice as much as it does men, and African Americans are twice as likely to have this disease as men. So this is why we want to have this conversation today, because we want to bring awareness to these facts and figures and have a conversation that we can remove that stigma, become educated so we can make good decisions in our lives about this disease. So our first Head Talk expert is Corinne Pettigrew. Corinne is an assistant professor in the Department of Neurology in Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, and her focus on risk and protective factors that may influence vulnerability to cognitive decline and the development of clinical symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. Corinne, the floor is yours to talk about dementia and cognitive decline. Say that fast.
Thank you so much, Jackie, and good morning, everyone. As Jackie mentioned, my name is Corinne Pettigrew. I work with the Johns Hopkins Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, and I'm thrilled to be here. My goal is to just give you a brief overview of dementia and cognitive decline. There's so much we could talk about, but only so much time we have because we have such an amazing group of presenters today. So the first thing I want to start with is a definition of dementia. And you can think of dementia as a general term that describes the gradual loss of memory or other mental abilities that's severe enough to interfere with daily functioning and everyday activities. And when I say daily functioning and everyday activities, I'm referring to things like cooking, shopping, and managing household finances. And importantly, dementia is caused by progressive disease-related damage to your brain cells or to the brain. And when you think of dementia, you can think of it kind of as an umbrella term, right? So that's illustrated here on the right. It refers to a broad category of brain diseases, of which there are multiple different types. So on the left, we're showing Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia, because those are two of the most common types of dementia. But there's other types as well: Parkinson's disease dementia, frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body dementia, and so on. And as you know, today we're going to be focusing on Alzheimer's disease as part of our HEAD talks. Next slide, please. So if you take nothing from my talk today, I'd love you to remember that dementia is different from normal aging. And this is illustrated in the figure on the top left, right? You can kind of see these normal aging trajectories of change in cognition over time with the green lines. So we're seeing that everyone experiences slight cognitive changes as they age. For some, these are relatively minimal, a little bit greater for others, but really they're very minimal. And that's especially when you compare them to the cognitive changes that you see among individuals with dementia, shown by the blue and red lines. So with dementia, there's a much greater degree of cognitive decline, and there's a long clinical trajectory. And I'll get into that long clinical trajectory a bit more in a couple minutes. So let's look at some comparisons between normal aging and dementia. So in normal aging, as an example, someone might have difficulty multitasking. They might need to focus on one thing at a time to successfully complete a task, but they are able to successfully complete a task. In contrast, oftentimes individuals with dementia have difficulty concentrating and difficulty multitasking. In normal aging, individuals are typically able to keep up with conversations. So you might need to pay more attention to do so, but you can keep up, you can join in conversations and contribute. Whereas individuals with dementia oftentimes have difficulty keeping up with conversations or joining in or following what's going on. As another example, in normal aging, judgment and decision-making or judgment and insight remain intact. So of course, we all make bad decisions once in a while, that's fine. But in individuals with dementia, what you find is that there's poor judgment and increased risk-taking. So for example, when dealing with finances or assessing risks. Next slide. So as you might know, between now and 2050, so over the next 30 years, we're expected to see considerable growth of the US population, particularly of individuals aged 65 plus. And this is important because we also know that the prevalence of Alzheimer's disease increases with age. Now, this of course doesn't mean that as you get older, you're going to get dementia, but it does higher age does put you at greater risk for dementia. And what this increase in the older population means is that we're going to see a corresponding increase in the number of Americans living with Alzheimer's disease between now and 2050. So right now, it's estimated that about 5.8 million Americans have Alzheimer's disease, and it's projected that this number is going to increase, almost triple, to about 13.8 million Americans by 2050. And currently, there's no cure for Alzheimer's disease. So we have some medications that help with some of the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, but we don't have any treatments that modify the disease itself or alter the rate of disease progression. But it's thought, so if you look back at the figure on the left, you can now see a dashed line. It's thought that if we can find a treatment that delays dementia by only 5 years, we can have a huge, huge impact on the number of individuals affected by Alzheimer's disease, again, over the next 30 years. And this is just a treatment that delays dementia by 5 years, let alone one that prevents dementia. So what is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's disease is characterized by specific changes to the brain. So this includes the abnormal accumulation of two proteins that clump together. So beta amyloid plaques accumulate outside of the brain's nerve cells, and tau neurofibrillary tangles accumulate inside the brain's nerve cells. And what happens is that the accumulation of these pathologies disrupts brain function. And it's thought that when they're both present, please advance, when both of these are present, it leads to neuronal injury or loss or damage to the brain's cells, which we refer to as atrophy. So you can see this illustrated in the picture in the middle, where you have an example of a healthy brain on the left and an example of an individual with advanced Alzheimer's on the right. And you can see that there's a lot of atrophy throughout the whole brain in this person with Alzheimer's dementia. And it's thought that that neuronal injury and loss is most tightly linked to the clinical symptoms of dementia. And so what we now know from biomarker and autopsy studies is that the brain changes of Alzheimer's disease occur very slowly over many years. And in fact, they might begin in individuals as early as middle age, even though they're showing no clinical symptoms or no signs of dementia or memory concerns. So this means for up to 20 years or more before the symptoms of dementia appear, the changes in the brain might already be beginning. Next slide, please. So because there's such a long, the pathology of Alzheimer's accumulates so gradually over such a long period of time, the progression of Alzheimer's disease has a very long course. So looking back at the figure I showed you earlier, now we're kind of talking through the stages of dementia moving backwards. In the dementia phase, when an individual has widespread pathology, we know that there's noticeable thinkings and noticeable changes in memory, thinking, or behavior. And individuals are demonstrating cognitive decline that interferes with everyday activities. And oftentimes over time, an individual might have difficulty functioning independently. Please advance. In the mild cognitive impairment phase, or MCI, individuals have some AD pathology, right? And they're also exhibiting cognitive decline that's greater than expected for age. Importantly, in the mild cognitive impairment phase, individuals are exhibiting decline that's of concern to themselves or their family. So it's impacting their everyday life, but they are still able to carry out everyday activities, still able to manage finances, still able to cook, to shop, and typically still able to work. And importantly, having mild cognitive impairment does not always mean that an individual will progress to dementia. And then lastly, because the brain changes of Alzheimer's disease occur over such a long period, we now know that there's a preclinical phase of dementia. This is the time when individuals have measurable Alzheimer's disease pathology in their brain, but they're able to compensate for that pathology. So they still have normal cognition. They're not having any problems with their memory, no problems with their thinking, but they do have that pathology in their brain. And importantly, again, individuals with Alzheimer's disease pathology, even if they have no problems with their memory, don't necessarily go on to mild cognitive impairment. And that's one of the things we need to understand. What types of risk factors or lifestyle factors impact whether an individual eventually develops symptoms of dementia versus those who don't? Next slide, please. So what this means, this long clinical course, is that effective treatments are likely to differ by disease stage. So again, in the dementia phase, when individuals have widespread pathology, we're likely looking to treat symptoms and slow decline. In mild cognitive impairment, when individuals have some pathology in their brains, we're likely to looking to slow disease progression. But lastly, in the preclinical phase, when individuals have some measurable AD pathology that the brain can compensate for, here we're looking to delay or prevent onset of the disease or progression of the disease. Next slide, please. So how do we get there? And really, the answer is that we need more clinical research of all types. So clinical research refers to any type of research that involves people, and it's led to all of the disease treatments and prescriptions that we take for granted today. And when we think of clinical research, I think most of us oftentimes think immediately of drug trials, right? Where some groups get medication and some others, but really there's multiple different types of clinical research studies. So for example, observational studies are designed to improve our understanding of risk factors, of health conditions, of diseases that impact whether an individual develops cognitive decline or develops dementia down the road. So for example, a study on memory and aging might involves following people over time, having them come in for annual evaluations of their cognition, of physical function, to see what sort of factors affect and predict how they change over time. But there's also intervention studies, right? So clinical trials, again, when we think of clinical trials, we first think of medication trials, most likely, but there's also other types of intervention studies. So for example, examining lifestyle changes, such as the impact of physical exercise on memory loss, or the management of vascular risk factors, whether managing hypertension, for example, reduces your risk of memory decline over time. Please advance. And critically, it's really important that we have different sexes, races, and ethnicities in clinical research studies, because we want to know the extent to which findings apply to and benefit everyone. We don't want treatments or interventions that are effective in only one group of people. And anyone can be a research participant. So there are plenty of studies among individuals with a diagnosis of dementia, individuals with cognitive decline, but also there are lots of studies for individuals with no problems with their memory. So with that, I want to leave you with a call to action today. The first is to use your voice. Speak up about your health concerns with your healthcare provider. And also raise awareness about memory loss and dementia in your community. Help us reduce the stigma surrounding the disease, to encourage individuals, to encourage people to get diagnosed and recognize dementia, diseases that cause dementia early on. The second, consider or encourage a participation in research. As I mentioned, there's many different types of research studies, and there's many different opportunities. And then lastly, learn about your ways you can reduce your risk of cognitive decline and dementia. So you're already doing that by just being here today as a part of our HEAD Talks, but you're going to hear about other ways today. So for example, staying physically active. You're going to hear from Coach Dave in a bit. Having good nutrition. Okay, but also controlling those vascular risk factors. So if you have high blood pressure, if you have diabetes, high cholesterol, if you're overweight, or if you smoke, control these risk factors because they have substantial impacts on brain health. And stay active. So I already mentioned staying physically active, but also stay mentally active. It helps kind of keep that brain active and helps the connections between brain cells stay strong. So to summarize, just remember that dementia refers to just a broad category of brain diseases, of which Alzheimer's disease is one type that's characterized by specific changes to the brain. And really, we do need more research in order to improve our understanding of kind of healthy aging and also diseases that cause memory loss. We need more research to find ways of reducing risk for memory disorders and for finding improved treatments for these terrible diseases. So with that, I want to thank you for your attention, and I'm guessing we have a couple minutes for questions. And I will also have left my email address here should you want to ask something offline. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Corinne. Yes, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer. Jennifer, do we have any questions in the chat?
Absolutely, we do. And thank you all so very much for being as familiar with the chat to put your responses and your questions and comments here. We're going to continue with this through this presentation. All right, Corinne, so we have got, we posed the questions here for everyone. We did have the beginning ones about, your familiarity with this, and the responses came in. A lot of them are yes. As Jackie mentioned about, is it the awareness that what this month is? We've had some no's and we had some yeses. All right, so let's get to our first question. Let me get down to it here. All right, from Sarah. If there are no medications to prevent or cure AD, what are the best ways for people to minimize their chances for developing AD?
That's such a fantastic question. I think the biggest thing you can think of is just protecting your brain health. Do things you can that keep your brain healthy. So that means maintaining being physically active, right? Eating a heart healthy diet, controlling those vascular risk factors. Living a healthy lifestyle overall, I think, is one of the biggest things that just impacts that brain health and helps reduce your risk of cognitive decline and dementia.
Thank you so very much, Corinne. Appreciate the response. Our next one is, what age can you start to measure or keep track of any decline?
Good question. And really that depends on the person. So I think typically decline starts to occur on average, probably around kind of 50s to 60s. You start to see a slow decline. But again, these are relatively minimal changes, right? So we're not talking about declines unless someone is progression to dementia. These are relatively small changes, and they just kind of get a little bit worse as age goes on. But there are substantial individual differences, meaning some people at 50 might be demonstrating more decline than someone else. And likely that's related to kind of some genetic factors, some lifestyle factors, the things you're doing every day to stay active.
Thank you. We have a handful more, so I'm not going to come in and interrupt anything besides reading our questions here. So this is great engagement. Sure. Thank you all. The next is, thank you, Robin, for that. The next is from Lisa and Doug. Could you please explain how medications manage symptoms but are not actually modifying or slowing the disease itself?
Yeah, so the medications help with, typically some of the behavioral symptoms of dementia, so agitation maybe, things like that, but they're not affecting the disease itself. So they're impacting kind of the consequences of the disease, but not the disease in the brain. Right now, we don't have any medications that are able to kind of take away or remove that amyloid and that plaque, or amyloid plaques and tau tangles that are accumulating in the brain. And that's the goal, right? Hopefully someday we're going to be able to have medications or treatments that are going to help us prevent or get rid of that accumulating pathology. But we're just not there yet. But there's so much work going into this at all levels, at clinical trials, in terms of understanding, finding treatments for the disease, in terms of finding lifestyle factors and other interventions that might help delay the development of this disease in the brain.
That's hard challenges and hard to hear for some too. So thanks for the honesty on that. Absolutely. And the response. The next is from Heil. Again, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing everything correctly. I'll do my best here. Is this also related to not remembering words and complete sentences?
So, I think as we get older, we all have those kind of little glitches in what we're trying to say. I think I did it a couple times during the presentation today, trying to say one word and it's just not coming out. So you kind of have to work around that. That happens to everyone. But really, it's when you are trying to have a conversation and you can't pay attention and can't join. That's when, it's more concern. So we didn't show them today actually, but there's 10 signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. You can look them up just through a quick Google search. And when you have, 3 or more of those signs or symptoms, that's when you want to take your loved one to see their physician or a dementia specialist, because it is important. Even though we don't have a treatment for the disease, early diagnosis is really important because there's so many resources, some of which you're going to hear about today. There's so many resources out there that you can take advantage of from early on to help plan, to help understand the disease, to know what to expect, and to help get ready for later disease stages should someone get a diagnosis of dementia.
It's that preemptive, taking that extra step just to prepare yourself and plan. Not knowing is okay, but just taking that extra step for caution. Thank you. So we have a question from Britt. When you begin to track the decline from a family member or when they have been formally diagnosed, what can you do to support their environment and routine?
Oh my gosh, this is such a great question. And I don't know if Ernestine is listening and would like to take this one because she is a caregiver expert. Um, she will be covering a lot about caregiving today, but there's so much you can do to adapt the environment of the person living with dementia, especially as disease progresses. So some specific considerations include making sure that the house is safe. So, reducing fall risks, and making sure that they have the person with dementia has an easy way to get, for example, from their bed to the bathroom without anything in the way. There's a lot of precautions there, or steps, things that you can do. And I suggest checking out the Alzheimer's Association's website because they have just an amazing set of resources for various stages of dementia and things that caregivers can do to prepare and to make their environment and household as safe as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm sure Ernestine will touch on that when she is presenting. Jackie, how are we doing on time? Can I get 2 more questions in for Corinne?
I'm here for 2 more questions. Yes.
All right. Thank you. From Robin, how helpful are brain games when it comes to brain health?
That's a great question. We see a lot of marketing of brain games because it's a way for companies to make money. But there is no proven evidence that some of your common brain games necessarily prevent dementia. That said, I think it's really important to stay engaged, challenge yourself to do new things. So learn new things. If you're doing a game, do something you haven't done before, learn how to do Sudokus, or start engaging in some crossword puzzles, or learn a language, learn an instrument, things that challenge you to think, to kind of keep you active. Brain games, I don't think are a bad thing. I think that if you enjoy them, because doing things that you enjoy is also important, right? From a different angle, it helps reduce stress. It helps you have some fun. But we don't know for sure that they kind of are, especially kind of the heavily marketed, those .com companies that are really promoting these brain games, they're not necessarily proven to protect your brain.
Right. The evidence is not there for sure as well. There's the TV
Right.
shows about brain games. They're fun, they're interactive, they're energetic, but don't get frustrated because again, it's just an extra step to help. Got one more from
Happy to take it.
It's actually 2 more. So from Catherine, what is the current understanding of alcohol and AD risk?
I'm going to leave this one for Carmen because she's going to touch on that, at least related to red wine. But from my understanding is there's no link between alcohol and there's no level of alcohol either one way or the other that's proven to kind of prevent dementia. There is something to be said about a little bit of alcohol consumption in terms of stress reduction. Again, I'm going to let Carmen touch on that during her nutrition talk because I know she gets into this a little bit.
Great. Okay. Thank you so very much. All right, Jackie, we're turning it off for you. Thank you for coming in. Corinne, appreciate everything that you have given to us.
And I just want to say, if you have other questions that didn't get answered, I'll scroll through the chat box now and try to answer them during the next presentation so that no one's getting their questions unanswered. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Corinne. And we will make these slides available to everyone after this session, so you'll be able to share this information with your family, your friends. And I think that's one step in reducing that stigma, because having this conversation, talking about it, is a part of the process. One thing I usually do when I am speaking to students about this, because I think we have to get the youth involved, I usually give them one way for brain exercises. Whoever is right-handed tonight, I ask them to brush their teeth with their opposite hand. So whichever hand is dominant for you, be it your left or your right, tonight just try to brush your teeth with the other hand, and it makes your brain sort of fire in a different way, because you'll be surprised how it can be a little bit more challenging. And then it also encourages good oral hygiene. So take that as a challenge tonight. But thank you so much, Corinne. Really appreciate it. So we talked a little bit about risk reduction, which is good. And I'm glad that we focus on that. Corinne mentioned a lot of great things you can do: looking after your heart, being physically active, challenging your brain, enjoying social activities. We're going to talk now with Carmen, that Corinne mentioned, about how we can reduce our risk with a healthy diet. Carmen is a registered and licensed dietitian, and she has 25 years of experience in nutritional counseling, education, writing. She's won several awards on the state and national level. She is an amazing person who is going to present to us today, again, about the role of nutrition and Alzheimer's disease risk reduction. Carmen, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jackie. What a great introduction. As Corinne mentioned, Alzheimer's disease risk reduction is so important. While we can't control genetics and things like that, there are things that we can do to take care of our bodies. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. So can you reduce your risk of developing Alzheimer's disease? Well, according to research, about 35% of Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia cases could be delayed or even prevented. So adoption of these healthy behaviors early in life may be able to modify the course of the disease. So these factors include things like avoiding tobacco, engaging in regular physical activity, engaging in regular physical activity, preventing early hearing loss, remaining socially engaged, and also maintaining heart health through a healthy diet. And that's specifically what I'm going to talk to you about today. So what the research shows us is that things like saturated fat, trans fat, as well as processed food and sugar intake can actually increase the risk of cognitive decline. So research shows that something called the MIND diet, which is a combination of the Mediterranean diet, which we've heard of, in areas of the Mediterranean Sea, which is a very low risk of heart disease. They show that the diet, we realized this decades ago, was actually really high in fat, but it was the type of fat, those good heart healthy monounsaturated fats, that people living in that region actually had a very low risk of heart disease. So the MIND diet combines the Mediterranean diet as well as the DASH diet, intervention for neurodegenerative delay. So that's what the MIND actually acronym means, Mediterranean Dash Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. That appears to be the best diet for Alzheimer's disease prevention. So again, it combines the components of the two to maximize brain health benefits. And in this particular study, they followed close to 1,000 adults. They followed it for 5 years and noticed that people that followed this MIND diet experienced a 53% rate reduction in the development of Alzheimer's disease. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the components of the MIND diet. There's actually 10 food groups. It's rich in whole grains, leafy green and other vegetables, berries, fish, poultry, beans, nuts, and olive oil. And it's very limited in red meats, butter, margarine, cheese, fast foods, as well as sweets. So the first food group are your green leafy vegetables. If you're following this diet, you want to make sure you're getting at least 6 servings per week. So 1 serving equals a cup of raw vegetables or a half cup of cooked vegetables. So think of things like your kale, your collard greens, turnip greens, spinach, broccoli, your salad greens like romaine and leaf lettuce, as well as Swiss chard. It may sound like a lot, but if you think about a salad or even just cooked vegetables, like a half cup of cooked spinach really isn't that much. So you could toss it in your pasta, throw it in your soup. There's lots of ways that you could just sneak in this 1 serving per day that you need. Other vegetables are the second group in the MIND diet. You need 1 serving per day. So again, a serving is a cup of raw vegetables or a half cup of cooked vegetables. So think of things like your peppers, red, green, and yellow peppers, carrots, cauliflower, green beans, squash, and even corn. So I tell my clients I work with, eat from the rainbow. It's okay if you don't like one type of vegetable, as long as you're eating a variety of colors, you want to get 1 serving per day. The third food group are your whole grains. So 3 servings per day, which really isn't that much. I know carbohydrates have gotten a pretty bad rap over the years in terms of calories and weight gain. But there's really a lot of health benefits of specifically whole grains. A lot of research that shows these are great, not only in this diet, but in cancer prevention, digestive health. So a serving is only a half cup of cooked cereal, rice, or pasta, which is a pretty small amount. Also a slice of whole grain bread, or even an ounce of dry whole grain cereal. So think about things that you like to include throughout your day: oatmeal, your whole grain bread, cereal, whole grain pasta, whole grain crackers like Triscuits, for example, barley, brown or wild rice, even popcorn, because of those kernels, they have a lot of fiber in them. They're considered a whole grain, or as well as buckwheat, or try something different if you want to try a different grain like quinoa. The fourth food group on the MIND diet are your mixed nuts. You need 5 servings per week if you want to follow this diet. And this is because there's so many health benefits packed in those little nuts. You're getting those heart healthy fats, which have been shown to decrease your risk of heart disease, as well as protein and fiber. So 5 servings may sound like a lot, but 1 serving is really only 1 ounce or a small handful. So if you cup your hand and think of what can fit in the tiny little palm of your hand there, that's about an ounce. So if you want to pre-portion it out, maybe use some small snack size Ziploc bags, that would be a great way to kind of see what's a serving. So any nuts count. They all have those great health benefits. So your walnuts, your almonds, pistachios, pecans. If you don't like snacking on them, you can sprinkle them in your oatmeal or over your cereal or in your yogurt, or maybe even sprinkle them over a salad. The fifth group are beans. You need about 3 servings per week. And again, a serving is only about a half cup. So think of things that you like: black beans, pinto beans, black-eyed peas, and chickpeas, which are also garbanzo beans, which are in hummus. So if you like something like that. Also legumes like lentils or soybeans. Some people like to snack on edamame. And again, if you don't want to sit down to a serving of beans with your dinner, you could sprinkle them in your salad. You could make a chili or soup containing some of these beans. So again, just think of ways that you could kind of sneak them into your diet. Again, beans are really high, just like nuts, in those fiber as well as protein. Again, just a good source of a lot of nutrients. The sixth food group is poultry, something that we eat a lot of, turkey or chicken, but we want to make sure that this is skinless because the saturated fat and most of the calories is actually found in the skin. We also want to make sure we're not frying it to add any extra fat to the healthy food. So we want to bake, broil, or even grill it. And you only need 2 servings per week on the MIND diet. And 1 serving is about 3 ounces of a cooked piece of poultry. So I tell people I'm working with, some people say the palm of your hand, though everyone's hands are a different size. I like to say the size of a deck of cards is about 3 ounces. So again, really not that much, but this was an important component of the MIND diet. The seventh food group are your berries. They didn't look at all fruits, but specifically berries. 1 serving per day, and 1 serving is a cup of fresh berries. This time of year, we can still get your blueberries, blackberries, and strawberries and raspberries, but in the wintertime, I like to just get bags of frozen berries. And so it's super easy. You don't have to worry about them being fresh. You can just pull them out of the freezer, defrost them, and you can sprinkle them in your yogurt, on your cereal, snack on them, or even blend the frozen berries into a smoothie to get your cup of fresh berries per day. But these specific fruits are really rich in those colors, which are giving us those powerful antioxidants, as well as some good fiber that are found in the seeds. So again, really important for heart health. The eighth food group is fish. So baked or broiled, again, not fried, and only 1 serving per week. So 1 serving, again, is about the size of a deck of cards. So think about your tuna, your salmon, your mackerel, herring, or even sardines. Fish of this type contains, again, a lot of the really healthy fats that are good for heart health. So if you don't like one particular type, just, give it a try. And if you're not a fish eater at all, you might want to talk to your primary care provider about the benefits of taking a fish oil supplement. The ninth group is olive oil. So you want to use this as the primary cooking oil. Again, the research related to the Mediterranean diet really showed the benefit of a diet that was rich in olive oil and its benefits on heart health. So you want to use this in cooking, salad dressings, marinades. One of my favorite new marinades that I use is I take boneless, skinless chicken breast and I actually poke holes in the chicken breast itself. And I use a variety of different spices, but also some olive oil in the marinade. Actually, because you're poking the holes in the boneless, skinless chicken breast, it really allows the olive oil to kind of leach into the meat of the chicken, and it really makes it tender and moist. So you're getting a heart healthy fat in a good marinade as well. So think about how ways you could incorporate into your marinades. And the last group, and I know we had a question about this, about wine and the benefit of alcohol in Alzheimer's disease risk reduction. Well, this particular study looked at wine, red wine in particular, and that people following the MIND diet that had 5 ounces per day we're able to reap the benefits. Now, if you don't drink alcohol at all, you probably don't want to start right now. But if it's something that you enjoy, know that wine specifically was an important component of this diet. And to answer the question that I know Corinne had mentioned, I also have not seen any research that shows alcohol and its relation to Alzheimer's disease prevention, or even, alcohol specifically, or its effect on like the acceleration of that. It's more of just a healthy diet that includes moderation of alcohol, which is defined as about 1 drink per day for women or 2 drinks per day for men. So foods that are limited on the MIND diet, really, again, those things that are high in saturated fat, which have been shown to affect heart health. So your red meat, your cheese, your butter and margarine, really anything that's a solid fat at room temperature is considered a saturated fat. And that's been shown to raise cholesterol and that kind of bad or LDL cholesterol. Pastries and sweets, because they're high in added sugars, were limited on this diet. And also fried or fast food, again, because it's just higher in fat and calories, and that saturated fat can contribute to heart disease. So just a few points. If you are caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or dementia, nutritional problems can definitely result, and it's really important to address these problems as they arise. Unaddressed problems could lead to increased behavioral symptoms, undesirable weight loss, and even nutritional deficiencies. Here are just a few of the common concerns that I hear from people that are caring for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or dementia: poor appetite, dehydration, and even unplanned weight loss. So here's just a couple of tips if you're concerned about any of those items. You want to encourage small, frequent meals throughout the day. Sometimes it's really overwhelming to think about, eating 3 large meals, especially if you have a decreased appetite or having a hard time eating or swallowing. So thinking about 5 to 6 smaller meals throughout the day will help you get in the calories that your loved one needs. Think about carrying snacks and drinks with you at all times. If you're out and about at a doctor's appointment or in the car, it's a great time to just snack on things, or even just encourage fluids throughout the day. Just a really important way to kind of get overall calories in throughout the day. And if you're looking for ways to boost the caloric intake of each meal and snacks, so if your loved one is losing weight or they're not having a good appetite, here's some good ways to kind of sneak in some extra calories and protein. Think about adding plant-based oils to anything that you're cooking. So again, we talked about the heart healthy olive oil, but even like walnut oil or avocado oil, use it in a marinade when you're sauteing vegetables, add a little extra salad dressing. You also could change to full fat dairy products. So I know that most of us are trying to, consume low fat dairy products like fat free and 1% milk. But if you use whole milk or full fat cheeses, it's just a way to get some extra calories in. Nut butters like avocado is the next thing I was talking about. Nut butters like peanut butter or almond butter. Again, spreading that on some toast, stirring it into oatmeal, adding it to a smoothie, a great way to get in those heart healthy fats, but they're packed in calories and protein. Avocado, a whole avocado has about 300 to 400 calories. So thinking about kind of mashing that up, spreading it on a sandwich, even just like something like avocado toast, adding it to a salad, great way to add some extra calories. You could even take powdered milk and add it to mashed potatoes or even oatmeal instead of just water to give them a little extra calories and protein. If we're trying to limit carbohydrates for weight loss, but you're trying to encourage them if you want weight gain. So things like potatoes, pasta, rice, and other grains, a great way to add some extra calories into their diet. You could add sweeteners like honey, agave, or other sweeteners just to add some extra calories. So again, putting it on cereal, oatmeal, in a smoothie. You could also just add some calorie containing beverages throughout the day. So if your loved one's feeling really full and kind of overwhelmed with big meals, instead of doing water between meals, think about fruit juices or Gatorade. Again, just any way to sneak in some extra calories without making them feel uncomfortably full. And lastly, just some nutritional supplements. So things like Boost and Shore, Carnation Instant Breakfast even, you can encourage those throughout the day for extra calories and protein. So if you're worried about dehydration, which is actually the #1 cause of an admission to the hospital in the elderly, because as we get older, we actually lose our sensation of thirst, and we're often dehydrated before we even realize it. So it's important to encourage fluids throughout the day. have them carry a water bottle with them everywhere, or you can do that for them. If you're going out for your doctor's appointment or in the car, always have water or some type of fluid available. Place fluids within reach throughout the house. So not just, by the bedside, but also by the TV chair, anything that's going to trigger them to see that water bottle and to know that they need to be drinking it throughout the day. If you're having a hard time just getting fluids in, think about offering foods with a high water content. So fruit, soup, even jello, milkshakes, smoothies, even ice cream, anything that's liquid at room temperature gives fluid to our bodies, coffee and tea included. Lastly, I wanted to share with you this recipe that was created by one of my colleagues at the Howard County Office on Aging, pumpkin pie overnight oats. So if you've never tried overnight oats, I actually hadn't until I made this recipe, and it was so amazing. I couldn't believe how easy it was. So not only would this recipe be something great that you could leave in the refrigerator for the loved one you're caring for, that's super easy for you to prepare, it's also a great thing for you to actually make for yourself. So it's filled with great nutrients that we talked about today. So this particular recipe uses your old-fashioned oats, which is a great whole grain, a tablespoon of chia seeds, and chia seeds are packed with those heart-healthy fats as well as fiber and protein. This doesn't have a lot of added sugar, it just has a little bit of maple syrup. It gets its flavor from the pumpkin puree, the vanilla extract, the cinnamon, and the pumpkin pie spice. It has Greek yogurt, which is your calcium and protein, as well as a cup of milk. And if you are lactose intolerant or don't like milk, you could use any sort of milk alternative here, like an almond milk or soy milk. You mix all these ingredients together. It literally just takes minutes. And you makes 2 servings. You put it in the refrigerator overnight, and you can eat it the next morning. You can even eat it cold or warm it up in the microwave. All of those flavors kind of absorb overnight, and it creates a really nice product. I mean, just really, really yummy. So try this recipe. It's really easy. Great way to get your nutrition in. So that concludes the presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you so very much, Carmen.
Sure.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm starving now. So this is great information. I appreciate everything you have shared. This is all important. So we do have a few questions. Sure. Regarding the nuts, is it always best for the untreated, not salted, flavored, roasted, etc.? And this is from Paul.
Okay, great. Well,
that first question, and then we'll go to his next.
Sure. Well, obviously, anytime you can avoid added salt is great, especially if you're concerned about high blood pressure. But just the simple process of roasting isn't really adding anything else. Anytime there's seasonings like honey roasted, you're going to be adding a little extra sugar. So obviously eating them in their raw form is the best. However, if you're not concerned about high blood pressure, or especially if you're looking to add some extra calories, like we just talked about, if you're caring for someone, it's certainly just like a personal preference to you. So yeah, hopefully that answers the first part of your question.
Awesome. Yep, that is. The next is on the wine issue. And of course, we heard the men are lucky they get the 2 glasses, right, versus our 1.
Exactly.
However, the question is, I always hear to use red wine. Is there any evidence on white wine?
That's great. So most of the research shows the benefits of in the other many health benefits of moderate alcohol consumption, even with weight management, for example. And that includes any type of alcohol. So that would be your, 1 beer, your 5-ounce glass of wine, or your 1 ounce of spirits. The reason why red wine gets, all the clout is because there's a compound called resveratrol in the actual red grape. And that's been shown to have heart health benefits. So you get an extra boost with specifically red wine. So white wine doesn't contain that because it's not in the white grape, it's in the red grape. But again, you're getting all of the other health benefits from regular moderate alcohol consumption. But again, red wine just has that extra, great compound, which makes it just a little bit better.
That's right. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Our next is from Robin. What is the overall daily caloric intake of the MIND diet, MIND?
Well, that is an interesting question because the MIND diet showed that you need to have certain servings of each, but obviously if you just added those things up, that wouldn't be enough calories to get you through the day. If you had 1 serving of grains, 1 serving of vegetables, 1 serving of berries, and maybe 3 ounces of fish. So this is just the limited, components that we discussed about building your diet around that. So obviously you can have more whole grains, you could have more vegetables, you could have fish every day. As long as you're limiting those items that were limited on the MIND diet, the saturated fat, the added sugars. So everyone's caloric needs are different. I get that question a lot. How many calories do I need in a day? It really depends on so many factors: your age, your gender, your activity level, your body weight. The more you weigh, the more calories you need, because the more energy you expend to move your body throughout the day. So that's a tough question. They really didn't look at calorie intake. They just looked at servings, minimum servings from each food group.
Great information. Again, I learn something new every day, and this was it for me. Thank you for asking the question. Our next
Sure.
is, I was actually going to pose it if it wasn't here as well. Can you get much benefit from avocado oils or even the coconut oils or any of the extra versus your olive oil that you recommended? It's just the preferences. I don't care a lot for whole avocados, but really do like avocado oil.
Excellent question. So, most of the research has been done with olive oil. However, any plant based oils, avocado oil, walnut oil, flaxseed oil, they're all very similar in their nutritional content. They have very similar ratios of those good, heart healthy, monounsaturated fats. They're all the same in calories, they're all the same in the amount of fat. So, whatever you like I personally, olive oil has a very strong flavor. So, if I'm doing a baked good, I'm not going to use olive oil because your brownies are going to taste like olive oil. Um, the
Point.
thing about coconut oil, yeah, the thing about coconut oil, there was a huge, really push towards this, that coconut oil is so much healthier. Actually, it does, even though it's liquid at room temperature, it does have a little bit more of the saturated fat in it than something like olive oil. So it's not, a negative thing per se. And sometimes I use it in baked goods a lot of times because it just gives it a nice flavor, but it's not superior to those other plant-based oils like your walnut avocado oil. So yes, to answer the question, avocado oil is very comparable to something like olive oil. The difference with actually a whole avocado, you're getting the nutrients of the actual avocado fruit itself. You're also getting fiber, you're getting various vitamins. You're not going to find these in avocado oil because it's really just the extract oil of the actual avocado plant. You're still going to get the heart health benefits, but not some of the nutrition you would get from an avocado.
Thank you, Carmen. So
Sure.
two little real quick ones. So we absolutely have a question from the inquiry about wine of does the rosé count? Because it's the mix between the white and the red. So there's a fun one for
Right,
us.
right. Okay, sure. Well, I can tell it's Saturday because everyone's thinking about tonight and what kind of wine they're going to drink. Yeah, actually, so rosé again, rosé. You're getting again the moderate drinking health benefits, but all of the research really points towards red wine. So that compound isn't really available in the rosé, maybe in trace amounts, but not that I'm aware of. So red wine is still the superior for heart health, but you have to drink what you like.
All right. And from our very own upcoming coach, David, his question is, are we
Oh
concerned
no, put me
about
on the spot.
I know, right? Here you go. You're on the hook. Are we concerned about the additional sugar, HFCS, in packaged drinks like Gatorade, increasing inflammation? Gatorades, Powerades, anything like that?
So that's a great question. So the acronym is high fructose corn syrup. So there has been some research that shows that obviously all of these added sugars to things really aren't good for us. Not only do they contribute to a lot of extra calories, but diets high in sugar have been shown to increase inflammation. Which, if you do have an inflammatory condition, something like rheumatoid arthritis or just general inflammation, that this could actually aggravate the symptoms. So yes, it's always best to avoid things that have something like high fructose corn syrup as an added sugar. And that's why there's really kind of that push towards kind of the more natural sweeteners. If we're adding sweetness like honey, agave nectar, it's not processed like high fructose corn syrup. So anytime you can avoid those processed sugars, it's a great idea. I had just mentioned that in ways to add extra calories if someone's experiencing undesirable weight loss. It's just a way to add calories without making them feel too full. So obviously, if you choose things like honey or agave, they're just kind of a more natural, unprocessed sugar.
Awesome. Thanks. Back to you, Jackie.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you very much, Carmen, and thank you everyone for your questions. I am excited about tonight and getting my and
Me too.
getting myself together. But before we all get excited, I want you to get physical. We're going to now talk about risk reduction and exercise. I want to introduce to you Coach David Girton. He was born in Indianapolis, and he believes the holistic approach to grounded in mastering the fundamentals of an abundant mindset, a sustainable eating practice, quality rest, managing your stress, we heard that earlier, all lead to a lifetime of healthy habits. And he is going to make us move. Aren't you, Coach Dave?
I am. First thing I need everybody to do, I need everybody to get up. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Excuse my voice. Excuse my voice. I've been dispensing medicine all morning. And we have to remember, we've been talking about medicine a lot. We have to remember that movement is medicine for our bodies. And at a minimum, it should be 30 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be going to the gym or anything like that. It could just be an intentional walk every single day. We need that vitamin D anyway from the sun. So everybody stand up. And for those that I can't see, I would really appreciate if you would show us, start your video. Miss Vivian, are you gonna stand up, Miss Vivian? Are you gonna stand up, Miss Vivian? Yeah, I need you to stand up. I need you to stand up. Thank you very much. So if anybody has any concerns with any of the movements, just walk around your space. Walk around your space with any concern with any of the movements. Remember, y'all, we've been sitting, well, no, not me. You all have been sitting for the last 50 minutes or so. But we have to remember when we sit, it turns off all the muscles in our bodies, especially when we sit back and we slouch. Our abs turn off, our butt turns off, our back turns off. So make it a practice to get up every 20 minutes. That's a hint for Jackie. Jackie, that's a hint. Next time we do a workshop, let's stand up every 20 minutes and shake it out. All right, y'all, here we go. Let's do a little movement. Everybody, arm circles to the back. Remember, exercise reduces your risk of all those lifestyle diseases, as well as Alzheimer's and dementia. 3, 2, 1, and twist. And it doesn't have to be super hard. It just has to be just like this. Just get up and move. I'm gonna show you things that you can do every day that are super simple. And all you have to do is just stand up and get it moving. 3, 2, 1. Now your feet go wide. And all you're gonna do is shift your weight from side to side. If you need to narrow it up, and just go side to side. Move. Now, next thing I need you to do is smile. Let everybody on the screen see that you're smiling. Everybody, big smiles. Remember, another way to reduce our risk is social interaction. Even though we're on Zoom, we can still smile at each other, y'all. 3, 2, 1, and now let's go here. Let's step. Hi, Miss Ernestine. How you doing? It's good to see you. Yes, there we go. Now everybody can do this, and y'all know this feels good. You know it feels good. Hey, keep going, just like that. Hey, 3, 2, 1. Now, hey, let's box a little bit, all right? Let's get physical with a little boxing. Everybody likes to box, all right? So step your right foot forward, and I just want you to punch with your right hand and move around. Just with your right hand, move around. There you go. Move it around, right hand. Keep going. Yeah. Now, ladies always come talking about, I want pretty arms. This is how you get pretty arms. You got to move them. 3, 2, 1. Switch arms. Go. Switch arms. Other side. Yeah. Every day, I'm going to keep saying it, y'all. You got to intentionally move every single day. 30 minutes. That's all it takes. You spend 30 minutes on social media, so you can do it for yourself. 3, 2, 1. Hey, if you have problems with squats, I just want you to stand up and I just want you to squeeze your butt. For as long as we're doing squats, if you can't do squats, I just want you to squeeze your butt the entire time. Work those muscles. Here we go. Squats with me. Ready? And down. And up. Stay with me. Stay with me. Stay with me. Here we go. Down. And up. We're only going to do 5. We're going to do 5 squats. Stay with me. Down. And up. Everybody squeeze your butt. Squeeze your butt. Good. Squeeze. Now poke your butt. It should be tight right now. Butt is tight. Tighten it up. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. One more. Actually, 2 more. And up. One more time. And down. Now, for those that can handle it, you're just going to walk. You're just going to step. If you can't handle this, go ahead and stand up and march in place. We got 10 seconds right here. Just like that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now stand up and let's punch again. Going across your body, across your body. Punch it out. Punch it out. Knock them out. Tell yourself, let's go, champ. Hey, remember, healthy mind too. So we got to stay positive. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself and keep moving. 30 minutes a day. Hey, just like that. Don't stop. Don't stop. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now you're either going to go here. For those that can't jump, you're going to do step jacks. For those that can and want to jump, is jumping jacks. Remember, jumping is so good for our bones. Go, jumping jacks. I'm clapping it up for you. Keep going. Jumping jacks or step jacks, just like that. There we go. Come on. 3, 2, 1. Now, hey, if you have problems with your balance, I just want you to go like this. You're just gonna raise your heel, raise your right heel. All right, that's for the folks that have problems with balance. If you want to try this, make sure something is sturdy next to you. What we're gonna do, just like we did on Thursday, we're gonna lift that right foot off the ground. And we're gonna balance. If you can balance, if you can't balance, just put your toe on the ground. All right, so here we go. We're gonna balance. Arms come out to the side. Yeah, arms come out to the side. And now touch your nose with your right hand. Yeah, keep it there. Now, some of y'all know what's coming. Get ready, everybody, and if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Let's take a sip. One of those senses away. Yeah, you're gonna shake a little bit. That's fine. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Release. Other side. Other side. Remember, if you have problems with balance, just go here. Get on your toes. Same thing. Otherwise, here we go. Ready? And lift. Balance. So if you did close your eyes and you were shaky, that's what happens when we put all that bad food in our bodies. That's what's going on in the inside. We're out of balance. And now, ready, and touch your nose. Yes, with the left hand. And now, close your eyes. Close your eyes for 5, 4. You got it, Jackie. You got it. 3, 2, 1. Put that down. Everybody, interlace your fingers, and go like this. wrist circles, wrist circles, wrist circles. So remember, everybody, we're spending a lot more time on our devices, on our computers, and it's the gift and the curse. Yeah, it helps us be super productive, but a lot of that sitting and having our hands in a certain reverse your circle, reverse your circle. All of that sitting and having our hands in the same position is bad for our bodies. So we're going to go through a few things that you can do every day at your desk. 3, 2, 1. Every day at your desk, standing up. Here we go. Now make circles like this. Make circles. Circles with your wrist. With your wrist.
Hey,
And
Coach.
you know that. Yes.
So what was the statement that you said? You were asking the question, does anybody know what the new sitting is?
Yeah. Do you know what you remembered that? Yes. Everybody, if you don't know what sitting is called now, it is the new smoking. 3, 2, 1. That's how bad sitting is for our bodies. It's the new smoking. Roll your shoulders back. We're not meant to sit, especially in the chairs that we sit in. So tips, get up every 20 minutes. If you don't have one in your bathroom, I forgot to give this tip the other day, get a squatty potty. Get a squatty potty. It actually puts your hips in the right position. Yeah, 3, 2, 1, and now just roll your head around. Roll your head around. See, we're lubricating all of the muscles in our body. Remember, if you leave your car parked in the driveway for 6 months and you don't start it up, it's not going to start. Reverse that circle, reverse the circle. It's the same thing with your body. That's why we experience so many aches and pains, is because we like to sit down so much and we avoid movement. 3, 2, 1. Now, everybody, give everybody a high five all the way around. All screens, high fives all the way around, down below, up high, all the way around. There we go. All right, so the other tip. So everybody's been sitting down this entire time. I'm gonna encourage everyone to get some sort of standing desk. They have little standing desks that you can put on top of your desk. You can put them on top of your desk so that you can stand up part of the day. Like, I know people that are sitting down for 7, 8 hours a day doing these Zoom calls. So not only is it eye strain, neck strain, back strain, but it's tightening us up. So get you a standing desk. As I said on Thursday, I have a box. All I have is a simple box with my keyboard and my mouse so that I can stand up. Everything is at eye level in my body. Like when you stand up, look at Miss Vivian right now. She has to move. You see that? She's standing up, so she has to move. And that's what I want to encourage everybody. 30 minutes a day, take your family out. 30 minutes a day, make it a thing. A family walk every single day. Start with, just make me one promise, y'all. Y'all gonna do one healthy thing for yourself, and that's 30 minutes of movement every day. That's all I got. Thank you, Jackie. Very much. Thank you.
Coach, I want to
Okay,
add,
Jennifer.
sorry, Jackie, real fast. I just wanted to add, Coach made the comment about walking. If you get out, it doesn't matter how many steps, it doesn't matter how far you go, it doesn't matter how fast you go. At least you get up, you get out, you walk. So try it. It will help you. You don't realize that it's helping you, but it'll help you all the time. Miss Jackie, kicking it back.
Walking is the number one exercise in the world. All of your muscles are working, all of them. So take that simple habit and plug it in, y'all.
You know, what's funny about this is that I feel so much better. Thank you so much, Coach David. I want to encourage everybody to check Coach David out, check out his gym. I loved every minute of being part of his gym. I love it because they have a community and they're able to still do it safely. They're doing them online. They're doing them outside, even though it's cold, it warms your body up. He is doing an excellent job with that. Follow him on social media with Live Now Fitness, because he takes us on these beautiful walks. As he mentioned about the meditation and the other things he adds to it, he does a mile a day, and it's like, I don't even know he's walking, but I want to go to these places with him. So it's amazing. So thank you, Coach Dave. And we also have a question or something from Brandy Blair. You want to share something real quick?
Oh, yes, I was just going to add, Own Real Estate does several Own Your Body campaigns throughout the years. If you don't already follow us on Own Real Estate Global. And I personally, as incorporating health and fitness in my life for the last over 20 years now, have social media pages on Facebook, it's Worth the Wait, and on Instagram, Worth the Wait Lifestyle, just a source of daily encouragement. We share tips, recipes, just cheering each other on as we all work towards a healthier journey in this life.
Thank you. And Coach Dave, thank you for putting your information in the chat. Guys, go there. I mean, the gym is a family. It's a holistic experience, just like you said. It's a wonderful place to be. He has a great thing for anyone at any level, because when I joined, I was at the very beginning, didn't think I could do anything stage, and he was able to walk me through and meet me where I was. So I thank you, Coach David. Thank you, Own Real Estate, with the Worth Your Weight, because I'm a part of that as well. Great tips, and they give you food ideas on what you can eat, because we all like a little sugar, but now we learn with our dietitian, we need to limit that. So they give you great substitutions and a lot of encouragement and challenges. I think, Brandy, you did 25 push-ups a day for 25 days. A couple of
someone challenged me, and I don't back away from a challenge. So
the challenge today is to do something great. As Coach Dave said, do something great. Visit those sites. Thank you so much to both of you guys. Really appreciate it. Coach Dave, any closing words before we move on?
Hey, man, baby steps. Baby steps get you there. Think progress over perfection. So if you miss a day, no big deal. Just get back to it the next day. Progress over perfection, baby steps. All right?
All right, Coach Dave is in Howard County, guys. So if you're local, please check him out. He has a great group there. So go there, Live Now Fitness. Thank you, Coach Dave. Thank you, Brandy. All right, let's move on now that we're energized. And like you said, this is like church. It counts for your exercise today. So you did some movement. I had my Fitbit on. I'm gonna track it later and see what I did. Progress over perfection. I love it. Great. Let's get started. We're back into our presentation. 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. But I have to figure this out.
I was going to say, as Miss Jackie is sharing, let me just pause a moment while she's getting it in. So we're going to bring in Ernestine Thomas. Jackie will do the intro. Ernestine, would you mind turning your video on and get ready for your intro? Thank you. Hi there. Jackie, you ready to roll? Almost.
I am ready to roll. All right, guys, we have talked about a lot of things today. Are we ready for who are the caregivers? Approximately 2/3 of dementia caregivers are women. That's interesting. 40% of caregivers have a college degree or education. 51% of caregivers have a household income of $50,000 or less. Most caregivers, about 66%, live with their person in dementia in the community. And this is the most interesting part. 1/4 of dementia caregivers are in the sandwich generation, and that means that they have an aging parent and a child. And this number is only going to go higher, as we saw by the statistics that Corinne went through. And so this is a very interesting point. So when we see the faces of who a caregiver is, we turn to Ms. Ernestine Thomas, who is a caregiver specialist with the Howard County Office on Aging and Independence. She's a master trainer of evidence-based programs serving older adults, their families, and former caregivers and professional care providers. So without further ado, tell us about the many faces of caregiving, Ernestine.
All right. Thank you, Jackie, so much for that great introduction. And this time I got off early with Coach so I could be more prepared than the last session. But as Jackie mentioned, there are many faces of caregiving, and the information that I'm going to go over right now is pertaining to the caregiver support program here in Howard County. There are support programs in every county, and if you are in a surrounding county, please give us a call. The numbers will be listed shortly, and we can connect you to the Office on Aging support program, caregiver support program in that particular county. But our goal here, our caregiver support program, is to keep your loved one at home for as long as possible. So therefore, we concentrate on the caregiver. And the many faces of caregiving include grandparents taking care of their grandchildren, family caregivers, those caring for someone with dementia. And don't forget the sandwich generation that Jackie mentioned, because it is a group of caregivers that's continually growing right now. So the caregiver support program provides here in Howard County provides a number of different services. I just want to point out a few that makes us a little bit unique. And therefore, those things are consultations, informal counseling, and individual assessments. We do that in order to meet the goals of the caregiver. We take into consideration their loved one, but our client is the caregiver. So we want to surround the goals around what they want to do as far as caregiving, their future needs, and their current needs. We also have a number of support groups that meet, and we still meet virtually now due to COVID-19, but we meet on a monthly basis. And then we have what's called a respite care assistance. We don't directly provide the respite care assistance. Next slide, please. But we do have what's called a caregiver grant. And that caregiver grant can be used for respite services, meaning a caregiver can have someone come in the home and take care of their normal responsibilities and give them a break. When if they want to go for a walk, go to one of Coach's exercise classes, or go to their own dentist appointment or doctor's appointment, they can do that. We also offer it to grandparents who are caring for grandchildren, because we recognize that they have special needs, and that grant can be used for school supplies and clothing for their grandchildren. Next slide. Our educational resources include our powerful tools for caregivers, which I'll give you more details shortly. We also have a virtual dementia tour. Again, due to COVID-19, we had to stop our touring because we cannot have people coming to the groups together, but we do plan to have that coming up again in the future. Next slide. Our one-on-one interactive caregiver assessment process, it starts at the beginning as soon as we make contact with you as a caregiver. And our support groups are small, and everyone is able to share information there in the support groups. It's all confidential, and we encourage people to participate in them on a monthly basis. Next slide. So some people say support groups may not be for them, but they don't recognize that support groups are designed specifically for them. Our support groups have trained facilitators, and support groups help to reduce anxiety and depression of caregivers. Individuals are able to share frequently. And what we often hear people say in the support groups is that no one knows how I'm feeling or how I'm doing unless they are a caregiver. Next slide. Now, I mentioned earlier our educational resource, which is our powerful tools for caregivers. This is an evidence-based program. It's 6 weeks. You meet once a week for 90 minutes with other caregivers. And during the powerful tools for caregivers, this is done virtually, and it's free to individuals in the community. And this is specifically designed for caregivers to come together, to communicate and talk about their caregiving journey. It's a way of reducing stress. Caregivers learn how to communicate, not only with their loved ones, but with medical professionals. And also, sometimes we have those family members that want to tell you how to be a caregiver, even though you're the caregiver. Well, you learn how to communicate with them in effective ways and manage your emotions in the process. So we've heard we've received positive feedback from people who have taken powerful tools for caregivers. They have learned to improve their own physical and mental well-being. They have learned to relax more. Yes, you can relax more as a caregiver. It is possible. They've learned how to manage their emotions. And most importantly, they have become empowered, and their self confidence has been increased due to taking powerful tools for caregivers. We always ask caregivers to try to stay ahead of the game. We know that's not always possible. Usually caregiving is something that's just placed upon you. But if you're able to, start having conversations with your loved ones, and you start communicating with your loved ones. Let your family members know what are your medical conditions, what medications you're taking, who would you want to have power of attorney for you medically and financially. Where are your insurance documents? And it's unfortunate that families don't have these conversations often, and these are very important conversations. People need to know what your desires are and your advanced directives. They're very important. So what we try to do is travel with you on your caregiving journey. We can't change the situation, but we can walk with you because we recognize caregiving can be frustrating. It can become overwhelming and you feel very lonesome. We want you to know these are natural feelings and you are not alone. But we do want you to recognize the warning signs of stress. Stress can cause headaches. Stress can cause depression. Stress can cause you to be angry just for no reason. But when we want you to recognize those warning signs, because what can happen is in the next slide, if you neglect the stress, you'll have your own health problems. You'll have broken relationships. It causes depression and it causes burnt out. One of the ways to decrease stress is having good communication. And we encourage caregivers to communicate, to prevent misunderstandings, and also to have some problem solving. Sometimes you need to talk to someone else about what's going on with you. We have a number of hotlines that are available to you as caregivers, and please take note of the Alzheimer's Association 24/7 helpline. Anytime you call, there's always an individual there ready to talk with you, a human being, not a recording. So we're always reminding caregivers to take care of yourself, avoid becoming burned out, get enough sleep and get enough rest as much as possible. Take breaks, they're very important. You can't be a caregiver 24/7, 365. It's unhealthy. And we want you to maintain relationships also with other people outside of your loved one and outside of family members. Ask for help, don't be afraid, because we recognize that the care that you do is super, but you're not a superhuman. And lastly, here are our contact numbers and email addresses. Kathy Ware, our program manager, myself as a caregiver specialist. We're here to walk with you on your caregiving journey and be a good resource to you as you walk this journey. You're not alone.
Thank you, Ms. Ernestine. We really appreciate it. I'm gonna take a moment and see if we have any questions in the chat.
Thank you so much, Ernestine. Jackie, I do not have any questions. I just asked the audience again if we are okay, if you would like to do the raise hand feature. If you know of that and the participants were able to use it there if you don't have the time to type in chat. So actually, Brandy, we have a comment from you. Would you like to unmute? There's your video.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you, Jackie, Johns Hopkins, and Howard County Office of Aging for continuing to have a partnership with Own Real Estate. We really appreciate it. And the topic, of course, hits close to home. I mean, I had my grandmother suffered from dementia, and my father, her only child, was her primary caregiver, until her passing. So all of that you all say continues to resonate with me, and we'll continue to provide you with support. One thing we didn't talk about today, though, that I just wanted to drop a note for folks is about the financial impact of this disease. and other related diseases. And that's something, if you do need support, that Own Real Estate can help you with. Our broker and owner, Mark Blair, is a financial and wealth creation coach and has given resources in the past in regards to that at events like this. So if you need help with the financial aspect as it relates to in general, because it does get expensive to be a caregiver for a person, or if you're in a situation where you find yourself needing to sell a home, obviously for a family member who becomes a patient who you look for alternative places and care for, we have that as well. So I mentioned before, Own Real Estate Global, also Own Real Estate on Facebook. If you require assistance, we are licensed in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, and have mentors and agents who live right in Howard County, in Baltimore City, all throughout the state. So if you need that assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out to us.
Thank you, Brandy. And just to note, we're going to have Own Real Estate information in your virtual go bag. Everybody will get these slides as well as a plethora of information, and one being information about Own Real Estate and Mark Blair and his wealth creation, because as you mentioned, Brandy, this is an expensive disease, into the trillions of dollars it costs us as a nation, and certainly as a family. If you need those resources and have that together, it is so important to plan early. Jennifer, I think we might have a question in the chat, so I want to circle back with you real quick.
Yep, that's exactly. I didn't want to interrupt Miss Brandy as she was speaking, so we did have one pop through. Thank you for addressing it. The question is, and I'll abbreviate and say it just like this, from Miss Ellen: does someone need to be a HOCO resident to participate with what Ernestine shared?
Ms. Ernestine?
Well, really quick, the powerful tools for caregivers are support groups. No, you do not have to be a Howard County resident. Only if you want to take advantage of the caregiver grant. Grants are deciphered through the Administration on Aging to different counties. So you do have to be a resident of Howard County for that, but you can check for the grant offerings within your particular county. There was one question someone had asked about if someone is diagnosed earlier. Someone mentioned how to support them in their environment. I just wanted to answer that really quickly if possible. First thing I would say, educate yourself about the diagnosis. Recognize everyone are in different stages of the diagnosis. Don't compare them to someone else, to maybe someone in a first stage or latter stage. Know what their particular interests are and where they are in the stage. Obtain an assessment of your home. That's very important. The Howard County Office on Aging and Independence, we have a unit called the Community Living Program, where we have an occupational therapist that can do an in-home assessment. Also, an in-home assessment can be done by an Aging Life Care Manager. And you can go to aginglifecare.org to find out the Aging Life Care Manager in your particular area. And then lastly, make sure that you're getting the support that you need, and your loved one has support too. We have a monthly virtual memory cafe where both of you can participate and enjoy time with others who are caregivers of someone with any type of cognitive diagnosis.
Thank you so much for providing the extra information. So I want to let you know, Jackie, so Catherine asked the question, and it looks like we have some meet and greets with our participants to help them out on their questions. So this is fantastic. The question is, are there any resources to learn about innovative alternatives to nursing home for AD patients? And as soon as that popped through, we had Corinne that's come in with some additional resources. We had Miss Ellen provide that she is a specialist. She's provided phone numbers and websites. So thank you so much for that extra collaboration. I hope that all helps.
That was great. That's what it's here for. Thank
That's
you, Jennifer. Oh, wow, guys, I think we did an amazing job today talking about Alzheimer's disease or dementia, and really stating the fact that aging and having memory loss is not a normal part of aging. I think oftentimes, even when I'm talking to our students, they think that everybody has this experience and it's not the case. We learned that today with Corinne. We learned how to reduce our risk through diet from Carmen and how to exercise and get out of my seat. I noticed since I've had this session with Coach, I have not sat back in my seat. I'm sitting on the edge. I'm like ready to go work out. I'm excited. The sun is shining. It's a beautiful day. Now we have local caregiving resources. Check in your area. If you're not in Howard County, as Ms. Ernestine mentioned, all over. Because of COVID, we have the luxury this year of getting people to join us from all different types of states. So check your state. There are going to be resources that are available for you. Ms. Ernestine gave you sort of types of programs. Go and ask in your county, if you're not local to Howard County, what's available to you. Don't miss that opportunity to check in your local area. So we hope we answered those questions for you. And on behalf of the Columbia Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Can Dream Foundation, Live Now Fitness, Howard County Office of Aging and Independence, Johns Hopkins Medicine, and our sponsors on real estate, I'd like to thank you so much for coming today. I hope you gained a lot of great information. This is our second year doing this. We're going to have another year with more breaks of exercise next year. I heard you, Coach. I'm going to put that in my mental Rolodex. But I want to thank you. If there's no more questions, thank you, Jennifer, for leading the chat. And thank you guys for being interactive. This was amazing. I had a great session today, and I hope you did as well. Have a great day. Oh, and where your
everyone. So go ahead, Jackie. No questions in
oh,
there.
and wait.
Wait,
Yes.
we have 2 minutes to spare, so it's okay. We will have some folks that'll drop off. We haven't had any questions. We got a lot of thank yous. Great sessions in the chat. Have a blessed day. Everyone take care. You're welcome to in your session today, log off. Thank you for joining. We got a great thumbs up. Thanks for the reaction, Heil. Corinne, yay, here they come. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate your attendance.